This session today is on safety committees that work. We've spent a lot of time talking about safety committees, and as a matter of fact, this is one of those requirements that we have to get the money back from the trust. Our TARP program that we talk about each year, and this is one of those key concepts, is having a safety committee that is functioning and doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we thought it would be important for us to get out some information to you on how to have a safety committee that works. And believe me, throughout my career, I've been on safety committees that worked, and I've been on safety committees that were a little less than effective. And there are some pretty key things that we have to do for that. And so our goal today is to give you a quick session on this and talk about what makes a safety committee work, what is a safety committee composed of, and then some of those things that a safety committee does, we're going to direct you to another webinar, which is on our YouTube channel. That, for example, incident investigation. We're not going to go into great depth on these items today because we'll point you to another one. We want to have a good overview of what a safety committee is and what it does. So we ask the question, what is this? What is a safety committee? And in my mind, I think a safety committee is really the heart and soul of your safety program. It orients our safety culture. This is the group that makes sure that our organization knows where it wants to be when it comes to safety. It sets the tone, and it also spreads and assigns the responsibility for safety throughout the organization across all the different departments. I'm a safety professional by trade, and I have a lot of experience. And one thing that I have learned over the years is that you can have a safety professional, and if you expect they're going to do everything, you're probably going to fail. Not because the safety professional doesn't know what they're doing, but this needs to be a team effort, and your safety committee is your team. Safety committees work. Like I said, I've been on some that have been more effective than others, but the safety committee is the key cog in your safety machine that makes it work within your organization. They need to be simple, and they can be effective. I have enjoyed being on safety committees, and I've met with a significant percentage of your safety committees around the state as I've sat in on meetings, and they are a beneficial part of our operation. It's worth taking the time to establish a safety committee, and this will make your safety program work 1,000 times better than if you're just trying to do it with one risk manager or one safety person or you as the head of the organization trying to make that all happen. So let's just talk some basics on that. Who should be on a safety committee? It's really a team effort. And our recommendation is, and let me just start out by saying it's up to you who you put on your safety committee. There's no perfect mix of who is on that safety committee, but we'll talk about some basics. Some formats work better than others. One thing is, I think it's important that you have some representatives from management. Upper management for sure needs to support this organization, and then folks that are frontline. Who knows how to do the job better? Who knows what the risks are of the job? Probably the people that are doing the job. And so our recommendation is that you have a mix of management and frontline staff. Now, you may say, hey, you know what? We have all of our department heads. They already have a meeting. We get together on a weekly basis, and once a month we turn that into our safety committee. That's perfectly okay, but I think you want to keep an eye on, are our safety committee members, or are we getting the full story by having those department heads there, or are we missing things that somebody that's working on the front line might be able to share with us? We should have representation from each department within our organization, including office staff, including every department, because they need to be represented so they can share their knowledge and share their experience there and their input. And one key part of this is your safety team's committee members, your team, they need to care. If somebody really doesn't want to be on this committee, we don't want them on the committee. If they grumble and growl about that happen to be in safety committee meeting, let's get somebody else. Let's get somebody who cares about the safety of the people in our organization and making it better. So pick people who care. A couple of basics about safety committee meetings. One failure of many safety committees is we don't set a standing meeting. We don't take the time to put a schedule together and say, we're going to meet on the second Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. or whatever time it is that you come up with. It should be a standing meeting, and we should do everything we can to schedule around other things, find a time when we can get people to be there. What frequency should we have it? I hesitate to go beyond once a month meeting. Now, if you're doing it quarterly, that's probably okay, but it's really hard to have consistency if we're going out 3 months. Our recommendation is that you do a monthly meeting. They don't have to be long, and that's one of the key things is let's keep it within a reasonable time frame. If we set an hour, stick to an hour. And so that means that we need to really prioritize the things that we have on our agenda to get to those first and get through those. A few other things, and we'll talk about these individually: agendas, minutes, and really what to do and what to discuss as a safety committee. So let's talk agenda for a minute. And for everybody that signed up for this webinar today, we will send out a sample agenda and some other sample documents around this, the ones that we refer to in the presentation. So you can take a look at that, use our stuff, or if there's something you like in it, just grab that and put that into your agenda. Agendas are key because it keeps us on track. They should be simple and really to the point. We should send it out to the team members ahead of time so they can prepare for the discussion that we'll have ahead. Once again, prioritize the important stuff. Put it first on the agenda so we're not just going through a lot of information that we're just throwing out this and that or something that is of less value. Let's hit the important stuff first. And if we have to let something slip or push it on, table it till the next meeting, well, let's make that the less important stuff. We also need to talk about who does what. That's part of the agenda. So as we go through, who's going to take charge of the different parts of the meeting? And that's a key thing that if everybody knows ahead of time, oh, I'm responsible to do the safety moment for this, or I'm responsible to review the incidents, then they know what they're doing, and it makes the meetings flow, and it helps people to be prepared for that. Well, the second half of an agenda are the minutes that go along with it. It's important that we assign a scribe to our safety committee meetings and that person takes good minutes. Now, that doesn't mean we need to write down every word that's said, but we really need to cover the key concepts that we've discussed and any decisions that we make. And particularly, we want to keep track of assignments, the accountability for certain tasks. If there's somebody who's supposed to do something, we want to make sure that's on the minutes. So as we go back to the next meeting, we can follow up and ensure that we're making some traction and we're moving ahead on those things. So key part of minutes is that follow-up concept. The next meeting responsibilities are important that we have those in the minutes as well. As we discuss that, we say, okay, our meeting will be on the first Tuesday at 9 o'clock next month. Is everybody okay with that date? And in that meeting, this is what we're going to cover, and this is who's responsible for it. We put those in the minutes as well. All right. I always like to start a meeting with a safety moment. What is that? It's really an individual safety observation where we rotate through the group, and each different meeting, there'll be a different person responsible for the safety moment. I was driving down the freeway the other day, going to an appointment with a member of the trust, And as I was nearing the exit that I was to get off of, there was a semi in front of me. Didn't have anything. It was a flatbed trailer, didn't have anything on it. And suddenly, a 4x4 piece of lumber, about 8 feet long, fell out from underneath the trailer. It was what they used for cribbing for their loads, and it came off and started careening down the freeway. Now, fortunately, I had a good following distance there, and I got off the exit right there. But that could have been. It was definitely an eye opener for me, and made me go, "Ooh." Had I been next to that vehicle, that could have been a really bad day for me. And so I go back to the defensive driving training that we talk about, and giving yourself space and a cushion around things, particularly if things that we may not understand. That would be a safety moment. And it's designed to get the juices flowing, right? And people start talking about safety and thinking about safety. It helps whoever's responsible for that to think in between meetings, oh, I've got to do the safety moment next time. And they pay attention to that. And it helps all of us to be aware of safety. And it could be work related or not. Okay. And folks, if you have questions or comments, please type those into the chat box, and Mike will bring those up for me. So what do we do as a safety committee? What do we discuss as a safety committee? Remember, this is the heart and soul of our safety program. So we have to make the things that we do there important. They need to be things that will move the needle, right? And move us forward towards a better safety culture, towards better safety performance, and really the awareness of the whole team about safety. So let's talk about these things. Here's a list. Set a safety charter. We'll talk about that in just a second. Safety goals, address safety concerns, investigate incidents, and track our performance. Well, let's hit each one of those. These are the key safety committee responsibilities. One is establish a safety charter, and this is one that we do really one time unless some big change comes in our organization or we do a periodic update on this. And what is a safety charter? It's really our mission statement for our safety program. And you say, well, why do we need that? Well, it's really, what do we believe in as an organization? And it's also, what do we want to accomplish as an organization? Here's one that we adopted here at the Trust years ago. We said, Utah Local Governments Trust is committed to the safety and health of its staff and members. We will commit whatever time and resources necessary to ensure that our operations are done safely. Okay, pretty simple. Maybe you think that's good. Maybe you think you could do better. I'd love to hear what your safety charter is for your organization. What is it that we really believe in, and how are we going to accomplish that? So set a safety charter. That gives us a direction as an organization on what we really believe in. Goals. So our safety charter is the big 10,000 foot view of what we want to do. The safety goals really directs us in on what we want to accomplish. And those can be things like, hey, we don't want to have any lost time accidents this year, lost time injuries. And that is an admirable goal. It's definitely one that is a trailing indicator. We probably also want to build goals around leading indicators, things like we want every department to do their safety training topic each month throughout the year. That's a goal that we have. Or we have a specific goal for a hazard that we have, or we want to purchase a certain piece of equipment to make the type of work that we're doing safer. Maybe something that we can lift equipment. We buy a crane or a hoist of some fashion to prevent people from having to manually lift a certain object where we've had incidents in the past, or just concerns that somebody might be injured there. What are the types of goals that we want to establish as an organization? And then when do we want to complete those, and how do we go about tracking those goals. Same thing that we do for all of our goals, but it's really key with safety because we want to stick to it. It's easy to say, hey, it'd be great to do this, but accomplishing it takes a lot of work. And so we want that, we want those completion dates, and we want to be able to track that. So our accountability is there. Each meeting that we go to, how are we proceeding on our goals? And that might be something that you want to have on every agenda. Here are our overall, here's our safety charter, and here are our goals for the year as a safety committee and as an organization. So it stares us in the face when we look at our agenda each time. How are we doing as it pertains to those goals? Safety concerns. It is critical that a safety committee listen to the safety concerns that are out there. If staff reports something and they say this is an unsafe part of the job, or this piece of equipment is dangerous, or this tool is a problem, whatever it may be, we need to listen to those things. And to the extent that we can, looking at budgets and all of those things, even if it is a minor thing, we need to listen to what that team member said or a group said, and take action on that where we can. Why? Because it's really key that we let people know that their concerns and the suggestions that they bring up don't fall on deaf ears. We listen to those things and we take action there. So look at safety concerns reported by staff. If we have a new process that we're bringing in, a new piece of equipment that could bring a new hazard there, let's look at that. And other ways, we want to look at facility inspections, as each of our departments should be doing inspections of their facilities each month and reporting those to the safety committee. It's really important that we look at that and say, what did we learn from our inspections? Because there may be a similar hazard in another department. There may be a similar concern that could prevent an accident somewhere else because we learned about it from one place. There are also things that we look at and say, well, we had facility inspections and we identified X number of unsafe conditions within the workplace. Did we follow up on those? That's a key part of our safety committee, is how are we doing? And we'll talk about metrics as we get towards the end of the presentation. But that's a key part of the safety committee, is taking that information and acting upon it. All right. Facility inspections, like we just talked about that and I kind of got ahead of myself, but let's look at our current findings, and do we have an adequate corrective action for that? Sometimes it's hard to come up with a fix. Sometimes it's hard to determine what's the best way to prevent this from becoming a serious accident or a serious hazard to our people. So what is the corrective action? That's where the safety committee, coming together as a group, can really help out, because if we have people from all different departments, they have different perspectives. I can tell you how many safety committee meetings when somebody from an office job commented or came up with an idea about a non-office job, a real operational type thing, that was the perfect fix for that. And nobody within the department that did that job had come up with that, because they were used to what they were doing. This is the way we've always done it. And the person from the office said, well, why do you do it this way? Why don't you do it like this? And everybody in the room sat back and said, why don't we do it like that? that doesn't make a whole lot of sense the way we're doing it. Now you explain that. So let's throw these things in front of the safety committee and have that discussion and say, are we getting the right corrective action that will prevent a problem or prevent reoccurrence of a problem like that? Mike, have we got any questions? I've been booming through this. I promised that we'd get through this one quickly.
You're good. We do have a question. Can you have too many people on the safety committee?
Great question. I think there probably comes a point where it's too many. And And that's something I probably should have talked about in how do we compose our safety committee. I think you can stumble if we get too many, but I really come back to, do we have representation from each department?
Right.
Um, a simple safety committee, I think is great. I think we can minimize the total number of people if we have active people who are participating in that
Mhm.
in the program. If you've got 30 people in the room, it's probably less effective than 6 or 4. Just because of the total number of people to try to keep focused on that. Now we've got a lot of different perspectives there, but I think too many people in the room, you probably become less effective, and people are maybe less likely to voice their opinions and concerns in a room that's totally full. But I would say make sure each department is represented. Does that sound all right, Mike?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's great advice. I mean, you're right. It just when you get too many, it muddies the water. But where you're talking, it's like having representation from each department is the critical part of that.
For sure, for sure. Okay. Whoops, did I? There we go. Instant investigation. I didn't need to go forward with the slide yet. This is probably, in my mind, the key function of the safety committee that makes it effective. And that's reviewing incidents and near misses that may have happened. Take that information. Supervisors investigate the accident and they bring the information. We bring the first report of injury or the incident report from the people that are involved, witness statements and all of that. But the safety committee has this key responsibility to review the information and then get down to a root cause. Why is it that this happened? And we've talked about this. And like I said, we'll be pointing, if you're watching on YouTube, there'll be somewhere out there, there'll be a link where we will talk about incident investigation, or point you to a webinar we did on incident investigation. What is it that is the key reason why this happened? And what type of corrective action do we need to put in place to make sure it never happens again? A lot of times we focus on whacking the person that had an accident. Well, it was operator error and they need to be disciplined for making a bad decision. Well, that may be part of our overall response. But in most cases, that's probably not the root cause. It's probably not the problem that caused the incident. And it's certainly not the thing, because we can whack somebody and say, don't ever do that again. They probably won't, because it hurt, or they went through all of this. But the other person that didn't go through that may not. So what is the corrective action that we can put in place that makes sure the next person doesn't have that same incident happen? And we talk about that. Ask why until it hurts. Ask why until that finger pointing starts to point back at us as in the organization, and say, here's something that we can fix in a policy, in a procedure, how we do something. Here's something that we can purchase a new piece of equipment that will prevent this. What is that corrective action that makes sure it doesn't happen again? I mentioned this already. Track our performance. If we're not tracking that performance, we don't have any idea where we're going. We don't know whether we've done well or not. And so we need to establish some metrics. And I have another webinar that is available on YouTube, and we'll put a link somewhere for that. And that will help us determine how we're doing as an organization. We want to compare those to standards. There are some things like an OSHA recordable incident rate. There are lost time rates. There are auto incident rates, those types of things. But those are, like we said, trailing indicators. Let's also look at leading indicators and determine what is it will lead us to our best performance? Well, if everybody does a facility inspection each month, we're going to identify hazards and we're going to correct those hazards. If everybody does their safety training each month, then we're going to be more successful in having awareness and having people trained to do their tasks in a safe manner. So those are types of metrics that we can look at. So look at both of those. And we want to report this performance, not just to the safety committee, not just to management, but really to the whole organization. As a safety committee, we want to post information that says, here's what we're working on. Here are successes. We replaced this piece of equipment that was hazardous. We did this or we did that, and get that out there. Now, this is also good and bad, right? There could be some things, you know what, we've been working on this same problem for a long time and we're not getting there. Well, sometimes that will spur people to come forward. Here's a solution that I think might work for that. Let's share that information. I have a document that I've used over the years, and we'll send that out with the email that goes out once we've got the video posted up to YouTube. And this is a pretty simple spreadsheet where you can put in some metrics, and there are some sample metrics in there of leading and trailing indicators. Take a look at that. And this is a way that you, especially you DSOs out there, this is a way that you can report the success of your operation, of your safety program, to upper management and really let them know what's happening there. Okay, well, we have covered a lot of material, and I know we may have some questions there. I just want to summarize quickly. Safety committees work. They take effort. We have to be involved to make those work, and we have to have it be a team effort. If it's a one-person show, it's going to be less likely to succeed. But if everybody has bought in and they get it, we're going to be successful. Does that mean we won't have challenges? No, there will be challenges along the way. But if we all have the same goal in mind, we can get through those. Accountability is such a key part of this. Make sure the minutes are there and we establish the accountability. So if we say we're going to do something, we do it and we follow up. Safety committees can be some of the funnest organizations that we work at. Bring some donuts, have a treat when you're doing the safety committee. That helps sweeten up that meeting a little bit. Don't go overtime. Try to maintain that time. And I get it. Occasionally there's something we're working that we may need to go a little into overtime. But in general, make sure if we say it's going to be a 1-hour meeting or a half-hour meeting, stick to it. And if we have to table stuff for the next meeting, that's okay, and we'll be accountable for that. But have fun doing it, and we can make our operations safer. Folks, if you got any questions or comments, type those into the chat box, and Michael, tell me what they are right now.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. That was awesome. We do have a question on near misses. What's the best way to report those near misses? Do you think we need a separate reporting form from the incident, or from the incident report form? Does it need to be different?
Great question. I prefer to have a near miss report form more than anything because we can make it less detailed than an incident report form, and that helps us to make it easier for people to report those near misses. Because otherwise it's easy to say, if I got to fill out a 3-page report, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to say anything to anybody about this because that's punishment to me. But if we can make it a few lines, what was the, who reported this, when did it happen, and what was the observation, what was the near miss, and maybe a line that says any input on what could have made this different, or something like that. You could make near misses anonymous as well. Where people could put those in. I hate doing that because sometimes we want some follow-up to get some more information about that, but we want to encourage people to do that. So I would say an abbreviated near miss form is probably the best way to do, or something as simple as, hey, if you have an observation, a near miss or something like that, send a text to the risk manager or to this person or to the safety committee. Here at the trust, our safety committee, we have an email address that you send it to was it safety@utahtrust.gov? I probably shouldn't put that on the internet. But you send an email to that and it goes to all members of our safety committee. And that might be something that would work for you as well as, hey, I have an observation, or you have a suggestion box where people can drop those types of things into a box. The big thing is we don't want to discourage reporting these things. We want to encourage people to do it. And maybe sometimes we give a candy bar or a gift card or something to people who report a near miss or report a safety concern that's out there to help grease the skids just a little bit to get people reporting those things. Okay.
Yeah. Another question. Reporting and discussing versus discipline and consequence. Do you have any suggestions of how to deter the behavior going forward?
Yeah, so it's a challenging situation. Here's what I say: always make sure that the punishment or the downside of failure to report an incident outweighs the benefit that you get of not reporting that incident. And that benefit could be, an incentive program. Hey, if I report this, then we don't get our barbecue at the end of the month, something like that. So definitely make sure that we're weighting failure to report those things far heavier than the benefit of, well, if I don't report this, then I don't have to answer for something. Does that make sense? Is that what the question was, Mike?
I think so. I think so. And I think an important distinction to make is that these are, I mean, it's non-punitive, right? Or it's not to shame or to tell them they did bad or something like that. It's how can we learn from it? What can we learn? What do you need so that this doesn't happen again? Or is there a piece of equipment that was broken that we need to fix? Is there a policy that needs to be better? Is there more training that we need to do? And I think that's when we get to those discussions versus, well, shame on you, shame on you. And that's what you talked about earlier about incident investigations and asking the questions, is that we get to that point.
Occasionally and I would probably say, emphasize that discipline for something safety related should be rare. That should be something when somebody took an intentional act, they broke a safety rule knowingly, and an incident happened because of that. We definitely want to encourage people to do things the right way and discourage the wrong way. But yeah, it's a balance that we have there. If we write everybody up for everything, well, we'll probably be less likely to report those,
Right.
each of those things. Anything else?
I don't see any other questions.
All right, folks. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Appreciate the care that you have for your coworkers, for your organizations, and keeping them safe. Safety Committee can help you with that. I guarantee it. And Mike and I are more than willing to walk through this stuff with you. We're more than willing to attend your Safety Committee and give you some ideas and give you our viewpoint on things. Just let us know and give us a little bit of a heads up so we can schedule.
Yep.
We do busy schedules, but we would love to attend those safety committees and help out. We'll give a quick presentation if you want, or we'll sit there and listen. It's totally up to you. We're here to help. All right, folks, that is the presentation for today. Please give us a call. If you have any questions, please let us know if there's something that we can do to help you build your safety committee, and go out and have a safe day.
Thanks, everyone.